Welcome back to the OpenAI Associate Developer course. In this lesson, we'll examine the response you receive when using the tools array for function calling in the Chat Completion API. When you configure the OpenAI API to use function calling, the response structure you receive changes to include information about the functions the model suggests. While the information in the choices array includes the new function information, the response still has the same top-level properties you've seen before. These include the ID, which is just the completion's unique identifier as assigned by OpenAI. You have the object property, which is going to be set to chat completion. Next is the created property, which is the Unix timestamp of when the completion was created. And finally, the model property, which is the specific model used for the completion. Now, let's turn our attention to the key properties directly related to function calling. As before, the choices array contains all the responses generated by the model. Remember, if n is greater than 1, the choices array will contain that number of responses, and each choice element is a message object. In the case of function calling, each message object will contain null content, and instead, the message object will have a populated tool calls array. This is the array which lists the functions the AI wants to call. Each function call in the tool calls array has the following properties. ID, a unique identifier for the function call. Type indicates that this is a function call and will have the value function. Function, this is the JSON object which contains the function's name and arguments. Looking at these two properties in the function object, you'll see the function name matches the name you provided in the configuration's tools array property you used to call the chat completion. Next are the function's arguments you identified. Notice here the names of the arguments match those in your configuration object. Then, immediately following the argument's name is the value the AI suggests using for each argument when calling the function. You'll notice that any of the required arguments you set will be included in the function object, and any optional arguments may be left out. An important observation to make in this particular example we're using is to note that even though we only provided a single function, we have two entries for the same function in our tools array. The reason is that in the messages we used when calling the Chat Completion API, we mentioned that we wanted to know information about both posts and to-dos. Therefore, that is exactly what the AI is providing us with in the tool calls array. The same function with two separate sets of arguments, one for posts and one for to-dos. Let's finish our look at the unique function output properties by revisiting the finish reason property. This property indicates why the response ended, and in this context, it will show tool calls. This indicates that the response includes function calls, which is why the response ended. This is unique because there isn't content to end due to a sequence of text or another typical completion reason related to a message. However, it's still possible to overrun your token limit, so be sure to check for length as well. Understanding these function calling related properties is crucial for effectively using the function calling feature in the OpenAI API. To summarize, we've reviewed the top-level properties of the function calling response, as well as the specific details in the tool calls array. Understanding how function names, arguments, and response endings are structured is essential for leveraging the power of function calling in the OpenAI API. With this knowledge, you can now better interpret and handle function outputs in your applications. This completes our lesson on the function calling output properties in the OpenAI API. Stay tuned, and let's continue enhancing our AI-powered applications together.